Why is a story like mine of being held hostage for 460 days so resonant with people? I mean, most people, thankfully, will never go through a similar situation. But it's the themes that I'm going to be talking about today that are universal. I mean, who among us doesn't know the experience of hopelessness, of being totally overwhelmed, of despair? I mean, we all go through it. And if life has not yet brought you to your knees, you're lucky, congratulations, but it probably will, because that's just the normal trajectory of the human experience. So what we know about resilience, it matters. It matters a lot, and it matters now in 2024 more than ever, which I don't really need to tell you, because as brokers and as entrepreneurs, this is not probably the easiest time to be in your business. And it's during these kind of challenging times that having a shift in your mindset, finding some fresh perspective that can sometimes come through hearing other people's stories, that can make a huge difference to the ultimate outcome of how you emerge from these difficult times. The story that I'm going to share with you today, I mean, it's a big dramatic story. And I don't share some of the more difficult elements of that story lightly. I certainly don't share them for entertainment. Everything that I share with you today has been really carefully considered and weighed, but I think it is important to share something of the depth of the experiences that I have gone through so that you can appreciate. How have I come to this conclusion that all challenges can become assets? They had taken thick metal chains and wound those around my ankles, secured that with 2 padlocks. I could no longer sit up. I couldn't even lie on my back. I could just lie on my one side on the floor for 24 hours a day. My life was all of a sudden reduced to not even just the size of the room that I was being held in, just to this one spot on this mat on the floor. I was forbidden to speak or to make any noise at all. I was allowed to use the washroom now exactly and only 5 times a day for 3 minutes, timed with a stopwatch. But I always had those leg shackles on. They never came off. So it wasn't easy to move quickly. It wasn't easy to move at all, but you wouldn't want to be late. I remember feeling like I had lost everything. I didn't see the sky again for almost a year. I never laughed once. Even if I could only touch on that resilient part of myself for a moment, it got stronger. It became easier to visit that part of myself over time. And because I was choosing that again and again and again, eventually I could really ride those resilience spirals that would take me upward into a hopeful place of, yes, one day this will be over. One day I will be with my family again. And in those upward spirals, remembering there's still beauty out there waiting for me. It was never easy to do it. It got easier, but it was never easy. But it was always, always a choice. And when you're in the difficult days, it can be difficult to have that kind of perspective. But it is so important to keep that big picture in view and to stay focused on that. Because all of the things that you do now influence that big picture. All of the choices that you make will influence how that turns up. It's much more difficult and uncommon to try to pay attention to what is emerging, from the ashes, to turn your attention there. But the more that you do that, the more you can see possibilities. When difficult things happen, usually there's an end point. The bad thing finishes, or it becomes something else. There's some kind of transition, and at some point it becomes an experience in our past. And all that we're really left with of that experience is the story of what happened to us, the story that we tell other people, the words that we use, the emotion behind it. But even more importantly, it's the story we tell ourselves about the things that happen. And we continue to give life to these unwanted negative experiences for years sometimes for a lifetime, when we just perpetually spin in the negative aspects of that. But that doesn't help us at all if we actually want to evolve and we want to move forward. The purpose of life is to grow and evolve and learn. And challenges are where you often find that. So when I really reflected deeply on that, were there any gifts in that for me? Well, yes, there was, actually. And that is also the truth. Because I had my freedom taken away from me, I now know the experience of freedom. There's always two perspectives that we get to choose from as it relates to the things that happen to us in our life. That life happens to you, in which case you're always the victim, maybe sometimes the benefactor of circumstance. Or the one that I choose is that all of life happens for you, the good and the bad, that there's something inherent there for you, for your growth. Being flexible enables resilience. If you're flexible, then almost anything can come your way, and you know that you can adjust, you can adapt, you can pivot, and you can allow resilience to carry you much more easily than if you're dig your heels in and you're stuck and attached to a specific outcome. I kept wanting my life to go back to the way it was. And I think that can be common when you go through something difficult. You want it to go back there. But it won't. No. It's going to go forward, but it's going to go forward in a new way and down a new path, in a new direction. And you're going to go down that path a little stronger and a little wiser from the challenges that reoriented you that way. So being flexible is an incredible resource. It's a very innovative solution when the old ways aren't working for you anymore. Remaining present, especially during high stress situations, that is your seat of power. So in my case, in interactions with my nasty kidnappers, or for you all, in negotiations or in dealing with clients, being present is what enables human connection. Your calm presence is an anchor for others. You have so much more influence over outcomes when you are present. And being present simply is, in my mind, being with what is right in front of you, right now. And I believe, because I have experienced it, that there is no human experience, I believe, that we can't transform into the opposite of it. I've had a lot of experiences in my life, and I feel that transformation, that is the ultimate. When you can turn something dark into something light, when you can turn challenges into growth, you're an alchemist. That there's some kind of magic there that happens. And the greatest transformation will come from the most difficult journeys. And that is the real value in those difficult experiences. It's the invaluable wisdom that you get when you go through difficult things. But you don't get the wisdom just because you've gone through some difficult things. Like, it doesn't work quite like that. No, you have to go deep. You have to go deep, and you have to find for yourself what the lessons are. And then you get to go out into the world and use them. And the wisdom that you get from all the challenges that life presents to you, that wisdom, that's your legacy. That's what you can pass on. That's what you can give others. And in both life and in business, we are going to be tested in ways that we could never expect to be. And that is when we get to discover how capable we are. So I'm up here right now. I'm not just someone who has survived something difficult. I am someone who has learned that pushing forward, even when everything seems lost, it's a choice. And it's a choice to show up every single day in your life, ready to adapt, ready to grow, ready to learn. The flexibility that you have, endurance, your resilience, these are your greatest assets. And whatever challenges come your way, trust that you already have everything you need to keep moving forward and to succeed.